Okay, I drew a green line here about the year 1800. We always draw 1750, 1800, some sort of line between what we call early modern times, early modern languages, and contemporary languages. Future historians will undoubtedly do this differently, but right around the year 1800, some very significant changes do occur in society as a whole that particularly impact languages. I already talked about three big changes that happened in the early modern times. In modern times, in the 19th century, is when the first of these changes comes through, and that's very significant when the state takes over the business of education, which had before that been either in private hands or the hands of the church, not universal. But in the 19th century, the state takes over education, universal education, and pushes necessarily a standardized form of the language even further. And then this is pushed to the nth degree in the early 20th century, and beginning in the 20s of the 20th century, with the invention and diffusion of radio, first and foremost, broadcasting as a whole, that is continuing into modern times, furthering the standardization of any given language. So dialects, while they're still around and can still be studied, are indubitably of much less significance, much less importance, and sort of less discernible in contemporary times than they have been in prior times. Thus it is that over this whole period, languages which had been growing apart, spreading more and more, in this modern period, they tend to sort of begin the opposite process of coalescing, coming together. All the dialects of any given language become more and more standardized. So looking at the individual languages, let me start from the bottom here, because I was talking about Yiddish before. Yiddish is still around, but it has far many millions less speakers than it used to. It's confined now to Orthodox communities and to very old people. German we know about, of course. Continuing in a straight line from Alemannic and Bavarian, we can still notice other linguistic phenomena, such as Swiss German dialect, spoken, not written, but being distinct in that form. And then there's, well, what we can call Alsatian, because how do you define a language and versus a dialect and all this kind of thing? Alsatian is a minority language in France, and because of that, Assimil has published a course for it. But I think that is as good an argument for being a language as any of that old joke about having an army and a navy and a flag. If the world's best producer of language courses produces a full-scale course for your study, making you accessible to everybody to study you in detail, as there's now a course for Alsatian, that's an argument for studying you there. In the sort of Franconian realm, we have Pennsylvania German, or Pennsylvania Dutch as it's known, and it was also pointed out Luxembourgish is distinctive, and that's sort of more of an outgrowth from that. Apart from the Standard German from East Central German and that dialect sort of realm and continuum, there's an interesting phenomenon known as Wimsuris, which is a sort of mixed language, lots of other elements going in with it. So these are some of the things that are still around in High Germanic realm that we can study. When we move into the Low realm, apart from, well, Afrikaans continuing its distinctive trail, and Dutch and Flemish in the Low Countries, and Holland, I think there's always been a not particularly repressive attitude towards minority languages, and so a number of dialects there, and, well, Limburgish tend to have almost a status as protected minority languages, so there are other things going on there. Frisian continues. Let me skip over English and conclude with that, and go up to the North languages. Swedish, of course, is still around. Apart from Gutnish being assimilated more to it, it's been pointed out to me by several people, very interesting, that there's a particular dialect of Swedish that is worthy of investigation. It might not be a dialect, it might be its own language. It because it contains many archaic factors. It's much more distinct from other Swedish dialects. It even used runes for its writing until fairly recently, so that's something to be investigated in the North Germanic realm. Danish, of course, and as I talked about in, well, the two separate videos I did for Norwegian, we have bokmål, the form of Dano-Norwegian being written by the majority of people, and Nynorsk being an attempt to get back to the West Norse roots of Norwegian. Icelandic continuing on its own. Norn has gone extinct, and Faroese, for which I made a video, I drew a line going back into the medieval period because indubitably it did not come out of nowhere, but as I mentioned in the video that I made for Faroese, it was only began to be written down in the mid-19th century using deliberately archaic Icelandic type orthography, even though it doesn't suit the language. And so, now coming to the conclusion of this video and this whole series of Germanic videos and Germanic and the like, there's English. English is now the world language, as this is a phenomenon that's only happened in the past 100 years, and it has given rise to a number of what's called other Englishes as well. There's not just standard British and American. There are things such as Ebonics, which, like Yiddish, has had to fight a stigma of being incorrect, bad grammar, but when it receives a sort of objective linguistic study, it's found that the distinctive speech patterns of black Americans follow different rules of grammar, and they're not grammatically incorrect, as they might sound at first listening from standard English, but there's a different subset of rules going there, and this is something that might come to the fore more and more often when we get in the modern world, in places like Africa, Nigeria, or India, when we have vast numbers of people who did not speak English as their native language, their grandparents, but come to do so more. We might get other standards of English, but as I said, the entire frame or mentality of contemporary times is towards homogenization and standardization through broadcasting. So you'd have to be a futurologist to know what is really going to happen, but it seems to me that things are going to become more streamlined, and particularly in this whole respect, what could very much happen is that all of these languages which have spread apart to here are going to start to converge more and more onto this line. I have many Korean and Lebanese and other acquaintances who never cease to marvel at how incredibly well Scandinavian speakers or German and Dutch speakers can master English. To these other foreigners, they can't tell the difference between another Germanic speaker of English and a native speaker of English sometimes. And now that you have seen this series of videos, and in particular this Germanic language family series, perhaps that's a bit clearer why. These are all dialects of each other in a very real sense, and as speakers of these dialects, and these dialects come to use this dialect more and more, master it more and more, perhaps these dialects may all converge towards this central point. So in the history of the Germanic language family, we saw going back from the Indo-European roots or origins through Proto-Germanic to Common Germanic, splitting into East, North, and West Germanic, and going into various languages, coming to the situation that we have today, and potentially going to come to a point of greater convergence as a language, English, which was Germanic in its roots, Germanic in its origin, but more than any other has gone the path of becoming an isolating language, a mixed language, but still has Germanic heritage. As it becomes the world's language, the international language, other Germanic speakers are probably going to converge more to it. So that's an overview of the entire Germanic family after looking at individual Germanic things, and now it's time to move on to other language families.